Hello, this is Neil from masterpaintingnow.com, and this is a free lesson to help a student out, but I wanted to help everyone out. So it's basically how do you draw what you see? And this applies to anything, whether you're trying to draw a figure or you're trying to draw an apple or whatever. These are just basic principles. And so if you find that your drawings look like this and this is what you're looking at, then these tips would definitely help you. And like I said, it help you to draw anything. But obviously with drawing something like the human form, it's really, really helpful to go through like my human figure course, my anatomy course or something, and understand like the proportions and everything like that. But even without understanding that, you can still use these techniques. So the first thing is I think about what shape can I fit the object into? So if I wanted to draw this bunny, then the first thing I think about is, well, what shape can I fit this bunny into? And you can see here, matter of fact, I'll do this in like red for right now. Right, I have this shape here. I have a kind of like a shape like this, right? And it comes down like that. Now I might not always draw it, and sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. This is like the envelope method. This is very helpful because if you can see this shape here, and you know, okay, my bunny has to fit into that shape, then you go, okay, well, how much distance do the ears take up in this shape, right? And you kind of just, mark that in. How much distance does the head take up in that shape? And you mark that in like that. Right, so these are like relative, like basic measurements. What about the legs? How much leg, how tall are the legs? Like so, right? So just having these basic landmarks will help you greatly figure things out. And so if I know the head has to fit somewhere, within this area. Remember the envelope came down like this. If you want to leave, the envelope in there like that, you can. And if you're working from a photograph, like that's a physical copy of something in front of you, can mark it with marker or whatever so you can see, and so it's not quite like the grid system, a little different, but then you can go, okay, well, how much space is negative space? This is negative space here, right? This is negative space here, negative space here. So it really helps you see the negative space by putting an envelope around the shape, so the ear comes outside this a little bit. And we're not going to go for exactness here. For that, you can maybe use a grid or something, but we're going to go, somewhat get some, some likeness here. So you can see it comes like that, the eyeball, and then comes out like this. And another thing is, I think I drew this line a little differently than I drew this one, but another thing is that, am I on the wrong layer? Yeah, I am. It kind of comes more like that. Anyway, another thing to think about is what are the basic shapes that make up the object you're drawing? So you have this shape here, you kind of think about that shape. You have this shape here, right? So you can kind of, think about these big major shapes as like landmarks. And this is where I'm going to fit my information into, so I'm going to fit my drawing into. I'm going to link these together actually so I can erase here easy. Right, so basic shape, basic shape. And when you first start, I recommend, actually drawing all the shapes and stuff. After a while, you'll be able to just kind of have a feel for what it is you're drawing and sizes and stuff. And if I really want to make the eye cuter, I can make it bigger, right? Make it more cartoon-like. If you want to go for exact likeness, then you would make it smaller. Right, and then you kind of like this, because it's a drawing. I'm not trying to do anything photorealistic. That'd take too long. And then I think about this right here. How does the center line divide, right? Whenever you're doing anything that's a living animal or person, think about how does the head, divide like that. And then, how big is the nose? How far does it come out? So something like this, right? Kind of put a little bit of shade on this side. And these are the different things I think about. And now there's other things you can also do, like you can do relative type. Well, here, right down from the nose, you can draw a line straight down. This is often something we do with the human figure. You draw a line straight down from the nose and go, okay, well, what is on, how much of the body is on the left side of that line, how much is on the right side of that line, right? And that kind of helps you kind of get a feel, for how it's going to look. And then I'm going to put, okay, I want to make this leg, I'm going to kind of go outside here a little bit and then come in, right? And we know the foot is pretty much right on this line. So, right, because see, I wanted to put the foot over here, right? But I know it has to line up with the nose, right? That straight line, see how much of the foot is only a little bit of the foot is over here, like one toe. The rest of the foot is actually on this side of the line. And just little things like that, little measurements will really help you how you want it to look. Also, I can go like this and like that. How far do the feet come down? And it's about right, So you don't want to make it too big. I can also, in other words, you can also make basic shapes first. So just kind of go like this and have a basic shape there. And then you can start to fill in the details afterwards. Basic shape there. Remember this colored part goes all the way to the top here. Comes down. Toes. Paw somewhere in there. Comes like this. Right, so I'll kind of shade up like that. So as you begin, and then, you can erase some of the lines and stuff, or you can do it on a different layer so you don't destroy your drawing. Kind of, I'm doing it more cartoon-like, just kind of do some details like this. Debating whether or not I'm gonna leave it. I kind of like that shape. I'm not gonna go for what I'm looking at. I'm trying to figure out what can I do for, if I want to make it more like cartoony. I don't like that. And then we'll have this little chin here. We'll have some hair here. I think that looks cool. And then you can kind of go, okay, well, what about way up here is where the back starts, right? So these are things I think about. I go, okay, if I draw a line like this, it cuts through the eyeball, right? And remember, I made my eyeballs a little bit bigger, like wider. And we would I'm gonna kind of add a little bit of shape like that. As we continued, to turn into an actual drawing, I would come in here and I would start to, delete the lines and stuff. Or I might just do a basic sketch first and then go over that. But anyway, so I know that right there through the eye and up here by the head, see, because it attaches where the head is. So it's way up here. So sometimes your eyes will deceive you, so you might want to just look at it. And I'm gonna make this, let's make this a little bit wider here. There we go. Some of it sticks outside. I'm gonna go out a little bit farther than what's there. Then you come down like that. So these are the ideas, right? This is the basic shapes here. Let's add a little bit of hair here. Then I can start adding some details in here. Sometimes just little lines like that will be enough to sell the idea. And maybe add a couple of whiskers. And finally here for the bottom part, let's add this foot in here. I'm gonna come outside a little bit like that, and then I think I'm gonna make it more blocky. I was trying to decide, what kind of shapes I want. I think I'm gonna kind of go something like that. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. I'm gonna kind of, I don't know, his are all furry. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of some good shapes here I can use. Something like that. And here, this is being foreshortened because it's coming at us. And then this one is kind of like that, shape. That's pretty cool. And we'll kind of come in like that with these two toes. There we go. Add some hair here, or fur, whatever. And then, we know these feet are a little bit darker, so we can kind of add some tone to that. Right, and then you got to think about the 3D form, and you can add, I go through all that in my how to draw anything course. And then you can think about, what if I had a straight line coming down like right here, like that, right? And that would be like right here in his head, something like this. Remember, I made his eye a little bit bigger, so you go, okay, so if I did that from the ear, then I know that's where the ear is. Like, in other words, this is where the ear connects. So just draw a straight line coming down so you can kind of get an idea, how much of the body's on one side of the ear and how much is not. And then you can kind of do the basic shape here. And you can change it to be more cartoony or whatever you want it to be. It's your drawing. You don't have to stick to exactly what you're looking at. In fact, that's quite boring, I think. When I first started out, that's what you do. You try to draw exactly what you see. But in time, you can start to improvise and draw, not exactly what you see, but kind of make it more cartoony, or add some style to it, whatever you want to do. Because that's what I think, to me, that's what a drawing is all about. It's all about interpreting reality. So actually, hold on. I want to, I want to see people's, for me, like when I look at art that I like and art that I want to buy, I want to see stuff that's interpreting reality, that has a cool style to it and design. Right? So like that, and that was done in 12 minutes, so it didn't take very long, and that's with trying to explain everything and all that. So that's kind of what I'm doing, and I might not always draw all those things, when I'm drawing, but I'm thinking all of them, whether I'm drawing them or not. Like if I just kind of, come over here and I just start drawing, this idea, and I'm like, okay, I kind of like that, and make it bigger this time even. I can make it even more cartoony. But you see, the idea is that I'm not trying to copy exactly what I see. I'm looking at it and going, okay, I can see how that looks. I'm gonna do it like more like this. But so I'm thinking all the same stuff. So even though it doesn't look like I'm doing that, I'm thinking everything the same, but I'm changing in my mind like how I want it to look. I'm like, I want it to look more cartoony, and I can keep evolving it, But all that stuff, I'm thinking about negative space and all that. It's all happening in my head. It's just over time, it kind of just becomes secondary. Like you don't think about it too much. It just happens. Now, the human figure is really, really difficult to draw. It takes a long time to get good at it, especially to draw it from your imagination. But you have to start somewhere. So you can see there's a lot of mistakes here. A lot of the mistakes here are just beginner mistakes, not understanding anatomy, not understanding the figure, the proportions, all that kind of stuff, which you just learn over time. And again, take my course, like Anatomy for Figure Drawing course. I have a new anatomy course I've been working on. It's almost done, and that's going to be really cool. But a lot of the same principles, apply, or actually all the same principles apply. So I'm thinking about, first off, I'm thinking about what kind of envelope shape can I fit this into, right? And so I'm going to kind of go like this, and maybe actually that almost goes straight down like that. See that? Hold on. What if I just make a straight line? Let's see what that looks like. That's a good line to have, but I'm going to kind of come at an angle like this. Oh, it's close enough. But you think about these shapes, right? Don't go like that. Like, don't think about that. You want to think about connecting points like this, right? You kind of want to just envelope the shape here. then you can start to think about lines like this. See how that line almost goes right through the figure and then into the leg. See how this arm kind of comes like that? It kind of makes this X shape here. These are all things you can think about in your head, and you can, do these measurements like this, like that. You have that nice shape right there. Where do the breast fall in here? You have the center line right here. Oops, it kind of goes like that, right? How much of the breast sticks out this way? How much is this way? All these things I'm thinking about, all this information. I'm also thinking about this straight line coming down here. I always think about a straight line from the nose or from some point. And often, I don't know why it does this software sometimes. It's ridiculous how you have to kind of start drawing the line down and then hold down the shift key. Right? So I think about how much of the body is on the right of this line from her nose and how much is on the right. It's a good marker to do, but sometimes I'll draw a straight line coming down, from a nipple or something, and then also from this one. Just to kind of see like relative. Then you can kind of get relative ideas from this. How much is on one side and the other side? Like, where does this line cross? Well, it segments with the, come on. So you can see it right there, and you can go, okay, well, that's where it segments, into the leg right there. And then when you're drawing, you can this is very helpful information to make sure things are looking right. Or this line coming down like this, that's, like I said, it's a very helpful line. This line right here is also pretty helpful. Coming down like that, you can kind of see that rhythm, that flow it has right here. And then how much negative space is here, for example. You can think of a straight line coming down from there or from this mark right here. So, and then do a straight line coming down, and that meets her buttock. So from her butt comes out as far as this part of the arm. So things like that, you can go, what about this part here? Then this little mark right here, the neck. What lines up with that? Things like this. So these are all the different kind of things I'm thinking about. So now that you know what I'm thinking about, let's go ahead and do a quick sketch here. And so I could or could not use the envelope, right? So you can either draw the envelope or not. I recommend as a beginner to definitely use it. For difficult poses, I still use it, especially if I'm really trying to capture a likeness of what I'm looking at. But you can also think about the basic shapes, right? So we have all these shapes, where you have the basic head shape here. What's going on? Oh, okay, I'm on the wrong way. Basic head shape here, right? So you have this like oval shape, and then where the eyes go. You can think about these as basic shapes here. You have this kind of basic shape right here. You kind of have the breast shape here. But I would kind of do it, let's kind of go like this and like that. So her breasts look big because of the shadows and things like that. But when you actually draw the lines, you'll realize that, oh, for me at least, I'm like, wow, I'm actually drawing the lines a lot smaller than I thought it would. Like this shape here is a lot smaller. I actually draw it. That shape right there is a lot smaller than I would think it would be by just looking at it. This right here, think about this basic shape for the rib cage. Oops, comes up like that. I didn't mean to do that line. Let's go like this. Comes down. All right, you think about that. The rib cage here, and this right here is like the front plane versus the side plane. So all this right here is more like a side plane of the rib cage. But I think about these shapes, even if I don't draw them, I'm thinking about them. Right, then you have this lower shape here. Think about that shape. This is how we learn these shapes in my course. Coming down, you have like a ball where the leg would come to, a ball where the leg comes to, And sometimes doing a quick trace over like this first really helps when you get down to actually drawing it. But think about these shapes, like basic shapes, because it's easier to draw basic shapes and to correct basic shapes than it is if you try to draw something detailed and then you mess up and you have to erase a lot of stuff. So the first thing you want to do is just kind of, let's start to kind of visualize this basic shape. And so you got to get good at drawing like basic shapes you see. So a good exercise is to, first draw a random shape. So just kind of go like this, like this, like this, like this, something like that. And then maybe draw a random shape like that. Maybe draw a circle and like a thing coming off of it. And then like, I don't know, just like, it can be totally abstract. It doesn't have to be anything. and then try to draw it again by using this method, right? So draw this shape again, and I'm going in my head, I'm going through all the things I just told you about, right? Right, and get something that looks pretty similar. And by doing that, you'll train yourself to draw with accuracy, and that just takes practice. It takes being able to see what you're looking at. And but these are all the basic ideas. These, like for example, a lot of horizontal lines here. That's a good horizontal line. These are good horizontal lines to think about. How far down does this shape come before the arm bends? So you can kind of go with that shape. Then I can see this shape right here. See that color in that shape right there. That's all I'm thinking about right now. I'm just thinking about that shape, and as long as you can replicate that shape to pretty good accuracy, then you have, I probably made mine too big, I think. Let's go ahead and make it, I guess we'll try to go closer to what it is rather than trying to make it bigger. But you can make it bigger as well by just, interpreting it and making it larger. This doesn't come straight down. So think about a straight line. What does a straight line look like first? So let's kind of right here and draw a straight line coming down like that. See that? So it's not, but let's go and do the straight line like this. But we know it's not quite a straight line, right? We know it kind of comes in a little bit like this. And that is going to be the nipple line. Notice I didn't do a straight horizontal line. If I did an exact horizontal line, starting at the nipple, it would be like that, right? And that's probably more helpful, actually. So let's go something like this and kind of make that horizontal line like this. Because now we know that, well, one, this runs through the eyes, so that's a good line. I like that angle of it, but you can also do a horizontal line just to see what would be there. But now I know, see, the nipples aren't on an exact horizontal line. This nipple's lower than that nipple, right? Because it's turning away from us in space. And I know that, the breast actually comes, let's go like this. It doesn't come all the way out to this straight line here, but it does come out to like this angled line. So if I have this angled line like that, I know that it kind of comes out to that, right? So you can actually start to get an idea or feel for this and go, okay, well, I know it comes to that line, but it also comes up higher, actually, more like this. Because think about this little triangle right here. See that negative space triangle? So if you think about that, then you can go, okay, it's going to kind of come up like this and then come in and around like that. You don't want to make it too big, right? And now I have like already one piece of the thing done. Then I know this basic shape will come down like this and so forth. But I'm not going to get too detailed there because I don't want, let's do horizontal lines here. Exactly horizontal. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come straight across like that. And then here we know if we come straight down, let's see how far. I don't think I have the angle right. Let's make the angle a little bit different, about like that. Yeah, that's good. Come straight down like that. So I know it all has to fit into that shape, right? Somewhere. And come straight across like that. And then let's see. So that was the breast line, and the other breast I know is going to fit into here. And also you got to think about this one. See how it goes lower? So I know that if I have a straight line coming across here, that, oops, that this breast has to be a little bit higher than that. And yeah, drawing like this is, you're probably thinking, I don't want to, it's like drawing like a robot, man. It is boring. But if you do this and practice these techniques, right, to draw with accuracy, because you have to start somewhere. You can't just start drawing like and having fun and just being able to just sketch without going through this kind of method. It builds up a network in your brain, and then you can start, it trains your mind to see what you're looking at and to draw accurately what you're looking at. So then you can just start like sketching stuff and go, okay, cool. So I know the arm, comes something like this here, and it comes up in here. We can just start doing basic shapes now. So just think about these basic shapes and how do these basic shapes fit in there. It's much easier to draw basic shapes than it is, to draw what you're actually seeing. So we're just going to draw some basic shapes here and go like that. And then this is going to come somewhere around here like that. And then elbow out here, and it kind of has a curve to it like that. I think I made it come out a little bit too far, but that's fine. I don't want to spend too much time on this. And so I'm not going to go for too much accuracy here. This is going to come in a little more like that. Then you have the neck. And then you have the head. So we're going to just, for now, this is kind of do this basic oval shape like that. Comes up. The forehead is right about here. Just kind of put that shape in there. And then, you have the hair in here like that. Right, so like once you can, draw basic shapes with accuracy, then you can break down objects into basic shapes. And then if you can, so if like, okay, I can draw basic shapes, that doesn't seem too hard. Then you just break the drawing down into basic shapes first. And then you go, okay, yeah, I can draw that. And then draw that with accuracy and then go, remember her butt doesn't go all the way out to this straight line. It only goes out to about here. But remember there's this kind of like that line like that we did. That kind of angle right there. And that's about where the butt went out to. Then you can also think about if you come across like that, then that's about where that bend is right here. And the butt is only going to come out to right about there, like that. But if you want, you can stick it out even farther, and it's all up to you. It's like how do you want it to look? And I'm going to do that. I'm going to go ahead. Let's see what it looks like if we. And also you can see the anatomy here kind of goes like this and like that because part of that is your love handle, and then you have the buttocks. This right here is the buttock. This here is the love handle. And so starting from like, if you have this kind of, the belly button is right in the middle of the love handle basically. So I know that to be correct. So I'm just going to put it there because I don't even have to like measure. I just know that generally the belly button is about in the middle of the love handles. And this right here would be the crotch line. And then this is part of the leg line right here coming in front of the crotch line. Then it has like that because it's coming up to the love handle. The love handle's like in there. And then the buttock, I'm going to make a little bit bigger now. We're going to come out like, I don't know how much bigger we want to go. Maybe something like that. I usually exaggerate my butts when I draw, so you can exaggerate even more. Now we know the knee comes down to right about here, right? So we can just kind of go, well, this is where the knee comes to. And we can kind of do like a circle, right? That's where my knee comes to. And then my other knee is pretty much, right in line with that. But it's in back, but it's still pretty much in line with it like that. And then I know I have all these other shapes in here. I'm not going to worry about that now. I'm just going to kind of, trying to keep it just a basic shape that we had there. Then we can always go and modify it. You have part of the love handle there, then you have the leg coming out like that. And you can see the leg doesn't come out very far, so we'll kind of keep that idea there. And it kind of comes like this, and it's going to come down and attach to the knee here. You have this kind of lump here for that muscles in the back. Comes up like that. We're going to be covering up a lot of that though, so I just wanted to kind of put there. I don't want to make the butt too big actually, because if we don't start curving in, we'll have it stick out farther, but we have to curve it in like this so it looks right when we get to this part of the leg here. Right, something like that. And you can start with just a basic, I'm kind of cutting out a step here, but you could have just make this a basic cone, instead I'm kind of like drawing some of the anatomy in here, some of the anatomical shapes, but you could easily just draw that as if it were a cylinder, tube. Kind of add a little bit more roundness there. I do want to show the difference between those two muscles though. Right, and as you can see, you just kind of follow this method. And I think I made the leg a little bit too big. Like I know I don't like this. Hold on, let me see something here. So if something doesn't look right, you can go, let's go from the belly button. So from the belly button, come straight down like that and go, okay, well, one, I gotta put my belly button over a little bit more, about like this. And then it's like, do a straight line coming down like that. And it's like, okay, so that's what I'm doing wrong. So I have to put, I think I made all of this come out a little bit too far. Yeah, I can see the breast is like this. Like there's certain things you can exaggerate and stuff, and the other things have to be pretty on, otherwise it's gonna look weird. We kind of come out like that. I'm gonna start doing that shape like so. Oops. Okay, I just want to make sure that's accurate. And it comes down a little bit past like this, about like here. Yeah, there we go. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come at it more at an angle. Think about this angle right here. So I'm going to go, okay, let's flow that angle. And then I know that it has to come in right about here to the top. So I'm going to do a basic shape here first. Curve the buttocks. I might not be able to put the butt out too much farther than this actually, because it might look weird if I do. The leg needs to be more like that. And then I can have this right here would be the bend in the knee, something right about there. It's kind of just put that in there. For now, I'm doing basic shapes first. Angles. Angles are easier to draw than curves most of the time. So I'm breaking all this down to basic shape. So I'm thinking about all this. I'm thinking about this shape here. I'm thinking about this shape. I'm thinking about that shape, right? So I'm thinking about all these different shapes. And I'm going, how does that fit in here? And then you can start to, add the curves and stuff afterwards. So you can then go, draw lightly at first, and you can start to go over this and go, well, now I need to, curve this like that a little bit. Then I want to curve into the calf like this. Let's come up into the knee there and so forth. So you can start to, I have a feeling I might not be able to make the butt that big. I think it might just make it look strange. I'm going to try it anyway. This leg comes down like that, and we can see part of the knee right there. I call that right there is the knee. And you got to think, draw through, think about how the leg's attaching. We know the butt would be back here. The back of the leg comes down, think about that. Now the other thing you do is you can go, okay, what does that line up with, right? So if you just kind of draw a line, it's a little bit to the left of the nipple, come down, then you kind of have a measurement for the leg. Now you know about how big it is. And then it comes like that. Yeah, that little bump right there. Let's keep this a little bit lighter. Right, like so, like that. And then we can also add in the calf muscle right there a little bit. Then you can also go, okay, where does the calf intersect this leg, right? You can think about that as well. These are little marks you can, be thinking about and be going for. You have and then you can think about the shadows and where they all fit in. And that's all the same kind of idea. I think about the measurements. I think about the shapes of the shadows, where are they inside my drawing, things like that. Sometimes having just a little bit of shadow in there might actually help define what it is we're looking at. But that gives us a good starting point. And then from there, you can decide, how realistic do you want this to be? How close to the actual drawing do you want it to be? Not drawing, but to the photograph. Right, and then up here you can start to add in details as well. And then everything else, this comes down to detailing. So this is kind of like, when you do a painting, you have the non-detailed version of the painting that you do first. And then after I've made that arm too big. And then after you have the non-detailed version, then you go in and you go, and then you go in and you add in, you start adding all details. And that's where, the painting process it's like, how detailed do I want to get? Do I want to keep it more impressionistic, or do I want to get really detailed? And how detailed you decide you're going to get really does decide. And I'm not going to follow the photo anymore. I'm just going to do basic form shadows that I understand would be here based on the forms that I know exist. And that's this part here, this like the noodling part where you just can go and you can add so many details, and you can add a lot of detail, to where you render it photorealistically, or you can add just a little bit of detail. I do want to kind of add that shape right there, the face kind of coming down, the nose kind of fits in here, each eyeball. That eyeball you can't really see like that, and then you'd have the hair coming in the face here, part of the chin. The neck would be, this would kind of all be in shadow here as well. Get the idea. But yeah, so, and then like I said, or you can just kind of do like a basic shadowing because it's like a cartoon, or you can go in, or a comic type shadowing, it's up to you. You can add some of those ribs if you want to. They don't have to be there. That's detail you can decide to leave out. And with the shadows, if you want to go for accuracy, you can do where you're like going, okay, think about inside the shape. Once you have that, the accurate shapes down, then you can go, okay, well, now that I have the shapes down, they all look right. I think I made this part a little bit too big, so I could adjust that if I wanted to, but I'm going to leave it there for now. I could probably come down a little bit further here like that. But what was I saying? I'm just drawing until I remember what I was talking about. Oh yeah, so inside you can do a bunch of relative measurements on the inside as well. You can like draw a line, straight line here or straight line here. How far does the shadow come out? You can do a straight line this way. How far does the shadow come out? Does it come out as far as the nipple, or no, not quite as far as the nipple, things like that. And that, so you can go, okay, I know the shadow only comes out like that far, but you don't have to draw the lines. You can just visualize it like, okay, I can visualize this. Okay, it actually doesn't come quite as far as that. So I'm gonna stop the shadow somewhere like that, and boom, just kind of fit the shadow in here. I'm only drawing on the pull down, by the way. I know it looks like I'm just scribbling back and forth, but I'm not. I'm only putting pressure down when my pen is coming down. So even though I'm going up and down, this is what I'm physically doing this. I'm physically going up and down like this. But instead of drawing up and down, I'm only drawing on the downstrokes. Right, I'm only putting pressure on the downstrokes. So I'm scribbling up and down, but if I only put pressure on the downstrokes, you can do it pretty fast. It ends up looking like that. So, and it's kind of just, the calf is probably a little bit bigger, something like that. A little bit of shadow down here in the foot, a little bit on this part down here. I'll leave this just basic shapes for now, and then you can kind of see how this kind of flows through here. Then the other foot just kind of comes off right there. Boom, stops like that. This part of the leg comes right about here. Then the foot kind of comes out, and you kind of see some of those back toes and the front toe. But I'm just going to kind of do like that for now. Kind of basic shapes. And that's usually what I do for sketches. I leave it with basic shapes. I don't add toes and all that kind of stuff. I do want to add just a little bit of this shadow in here like that. And then maybe just a little bit of that shadow like that. Get rid of some of those lines. Right, and then once you have your basic sketch, then you can go and, start erasing stuff or drawing over it. Draw over your entire drawing and see, how, I could make the butt look bigger. Let me see something actually. I think I made the waist too big anyway. Yeah, I definitely did. So I can make the butt look bigger by changing the waist anyways. That's why it was looking. So it wasn't that my butt, even though I kept trying to make the butt bigger and bigger, and then go straight across like this. I kept making the butt bigger and bigger, and I was like, what's going on? How come it doesn't look right? That's why it wasn't looking right. I'm gonna make the butt a little bit bigger, like I had it before. But now I'm gonna come in. I want to make sure I capture that. Come out just a little bit and in. There we go. It's because my waist was too big. So because the waist was big, even though I was trying to make the butt bigger and bigger, it didn't look right because the waist was too big. So if you make the waist smaller, then naturally the butt, boom, sticks out more. And then over this, all this over here, I'm gonna kind of change all these shapes here just because, kind of like more like that. Okay, cool. And we can add, I'm gonna add just a little bit of that kind of crest line there for the rib cage. Yeah, that looks much better. Now she looks like she has this big old waist. And if I didn't want to look that big, I would just draw it more like here. I just know that there's this much space, so I would actually come in here like that, come down more naturally, and then more like that, and that's how you'd get that normal shape. But that's all you have to do is just change the outline, the outside line a little bit, and you saw how much bigger she looked. Her butt looked by just changing that line just a little bit. It doesn't have to be changed much. And there you have it. So these are the basic principles. So hopefully this will help you when you're drawing. Think about all these relative things. Think about angles. So remember that if I draw a horizontal line coming across like that, look how much of the boob is underneath there. See? So horizontal line. So so it's basically the breasts are at an angle. See? The nipples, all the breasts are at an angle. Why? Because the collarbone's at an angle. So that angle follows all the way through the figure. And those are things to think about. But yeah, there's all just, some people will need more help than others. So just, you got to think about horizontal and vertical lines you can draw from different positions, and then just, just make up your own. Like, it doesn't have to be anything. There's no like set science to it. You just look at it and go, okay, I have this dent right here. What if I draw a straight line from there, a vertical line? What if I draw a horizontal line coming out? Things like that. How much negative space is there here and there? So if I think about that, I go, okay, so if I wanted to make it more accurate, then I know it has to be more like that, right? And that's more accurate to what I'm looking at. So it's quite a lot skinnier than even what I was drawing there. So if you want to get more accurate, you can do that. Go, well, how much negative space is here? I need more negative space there. Elbow comes up a little bit higher. Yeah. So if you wanted to really noodle with your drawing, you can really get it a lot more accurate. Comes up like that. Elbow starts right about there. And then the arm, so you can kind of go like that. The sides more shadowed. Then then you have the hands, and you can think about the fingers. There's a finger right there. The other one, right? Arm or wrist. Hair details, and it's too small of a drawing, so I can't really go in and add like all the eyes and all that kind of stuff. But if I then blow this up a little bit bigger, I can then go and add more detail by drawing on top of that. So yeah, basically, for practice, just maybe start with basic things, simple things like, maybe like a cartoon rabbit, cartoon cat, things like that. And also just abstract shapes, just kind of, maybe have a circle here and have like a tube coming off the circle, something like that. Maybe it goes through and comes out the other side. You know, maybe there's another one here, but it's bigger. It's more of a cone. Something like that, right? So you have a shape like that, and then you want to recreate that shape, and you want to just think about, okay, I want to recreate this shape. What's the envelope? What's the shape that envelopes it? And you can kind of see that shape right there, and then you go, okay, cool. So it's kind of like this, maybe just kind of do a basic oval like that first to kind of get the basic size, and then go like this. Go, okay, I know it has to come out this way, and it has to come down this way. Then it has to come in like this, and right here, and that's pretty much a straight line coming down like this because that's going straight through the ball. And then I know I have a line like that, and then something over here like this, right? Kind of like a sideways UFO. And then you can go, I know the edge of the ball is here, and it comes about that far into the shape, right? So you kind of just find, you can also start with the circle and then draw the shape around the circle, but it's something like that. And this is a great, this is great practice just to kind of, you can start erasing stuff you don't need anymore. And think about the space between here and here, how much space is there between there and there. This comes almost down to the edge of the circle. Something like that. And I can kind of fidget with some of this. Get the basic idea though. Right? And so you can recreate shapes like that you've drawn and just kind of mess around with abstract shapes and get more and more complex with them, more 3D with them as you continue to do that kind of exercise. And then start applying these techniques to what you're try to draw what you see. And what you do is over time you're training your brain to accurately draw what you see. But you have to learn how to first accurately draw basic shapes, because if I draw a triangle, right, and it looks like that, but you draw something that looks like this, well, that's not accurate. That's not the same triangle, right? If I draw a triangle that has equal sides, approximately equal sides, something like that, and then you draw a triangle that looks more like this, you're not drawing the same thing. You gotta think about a line going between it. You have equal triangles on each side. If you draw a line with yours, it's not doing that, right? Or draw a line with this one. See, there's bigger on this side than that side. So it's like, oh, I got to correct that then, I got to have equal sides on each side. And then that's when you can start to draw with accuracy. And then if I want to draw this rectangle right here, I have to draw that with accuracy. You got to draw straight lines. How long is it? Make sure it matches. If I have a shape like this, maybe break it down into shapes like that. And now you can end up 3 shapes, and you can go, okay, maybe that makes it easier to draw, and then replicate it. So yeah, hopefully this will help you. It takes practice, it really does. And so if you find that you're really dissatisfied with your drawings, or they're just not looking, how you want them to look, then start with this exercise and practice this. And once you can start getting basic shapes, then you can think about what you're drawing as basic shapes and go, hey, that's basically just a rectangle. It's not a perfect rectangle. It's not like this. It's a little bit different, right? But you can think about this rectangle shape here, right? It kind of tapers in. You can think about this triangle shape. You can think about that triangle shape. You can think about this, right? These are basic shapes you can think about. You can think about this basic oval shape, right? You can think about this basic oval shape. You can think about this rectangle here. You can think about this kind of oval first, and then you can, change the oval later. You have this kind of shape right here, so another kind of triangle. Then you have this whole kind of, shape here. It's kind of oval. And also you want to get good at, ovals too. I forgot to mention that. So draw ovals, and then somewhere else on the page, try to draw that same oval again, right? And that just comes with, ovals will get easier to match when you start getting good at matching basic triangles and things like that. But you can always put a rectangle inside of an oval. Right? You can always a circle or rectangle or any kind of ellipsis. Ellipsis is like whether it's oval or round, you can put a square around it, right? If you put straight lines around it like that, you can even draw an X through it. That helps you see like what that oval shape looks like. It's like, oh, okay, so now I know that if I can do a rectangle, I can do an oval, right? All I have to do is go, okay, my rectangle is about like that. That's about what my rectangle was. I made it a little bit too wide, right? I can see where I messed up. Now, if I match my rectangles, then all I have to do is just fit my oval into that rectangle. And it's going to go like that, right? It's going to just fit in there. Actually, mine kind of has more of a, kind of comes in like that more, right? So if I want to kind of match that more, be more like that. And that's how you'd match it. And so once you get good at matching rectangles, then match triangles, and then start matching, abstract shapes, and then start doing circles and ovals. If you have to draw the rectangle around it to kind of visualize and see it, do that, because it's important to get it accurate and get it right. And then over time, you can do it in your head without having to draw. But it's always, good to draw these basic shapes. I'm going to draw right through the figure. Bam, basic shapes. So to try to first draw the figure with these basic shapes. So break it down into basic shapes and try to draw those basic shapes. If you have to draw over the photo first to get an idea what those basic shapes would look like, do that, and then just draw based on that right there. So draw based on this right here. Leave those basic shapes there and draw based on those shapes. And try to match those shapes over here as you're drawing it again. Without looking, or look at this, but then draw on a blank part over here without obviously tracing over a photo. And as you do that, you'll start to get accurate, because you're like, hey, I can draw an oval. And if you have to think about that oval as a rectangle like that, think about it as a rectangle. Okay, now I know how much space comes within that rectangle. It's similar to this here. You can see how much space there is on that side versus this side of the rectangle, right? So it's not quite a perfect oval. And so you think about all that and draw these basic shapes. And after you have all those basic shapes, then you can go into there, and you don't even have to be looking at the model anymore. If you start to learn anatomy, you can actually come into this and just start adding, what you know to be anatomical structure. I know the deltoid comes up like that and then comes into the collarbone. I know you have the pec muscle right here that comes up and goes around, wraps to the deltoid, wraps around. I know I have kind of like a shape like this because you have the arm muscles, and then you have part of the scapula here kind of sticks out, so it's going to kind of go like that. Kind of erase some of that so you can kind of see it more. Then you have the rib cage. The rib cage kind of sticks out and comes in like that. So draw that muscle coming back like that. This arm muscle kind of comes in front of the deltoid and pec muscle there. And then underneath you have a couple interesting muscles. You have right here, this is your latissimus dorsi right here. Latissimus dorsi. So your lat muscle there. And the lat muscle kind of comes underneath, and it comes underneath your tricep. The tricep actually comes around the back there. And then you have the pec muscle and this muscle coming like that. Then you have it's kind of like, you're going to have like part of the tricep and bicep, because you're seeing underside of the arm, but you're also seeing a little bit of the other side of the arm. So it's like kind of like that. It's like the bicep and this tricep, and this comes underneath a little bit like that. Yeah. But that creates that shape right there. And this is what creates an armpit. It's the pec muscle coming up and attaching to one side of the arm, and then your latissimus dorsi attaching to the arm as well, to a different side. Like, so your latissimus kind of attaches to the inside of your arm. Like the outside of the arm is here. So from the side view, this is the deltoid. This is the outside arm where the deltoid attaches here to the center. The inside is when you flex your arm, right? And then you look at the bicep on the inside. That's the inside of the arm. The outside of the arm is, okay, think about it this way. Put your arms by your side. the part of your arm that touches your body, that's the inside. The part that's facing away from your body, that's the outside. And so you have, anyway, I'm not going to go through this right now. I go through all this in my anatomy course, and I'm actually going through a lot of detail in my new anatomy course that's coming out. So stay tuned for that. Right, so you can start to add the anatomical shapes in here. And go, I know that kind of comes, well, actually, you have the kind of belly here first. Comes out a little bit like that, then it kind of comes into the crotch there. And then you have a little bit of the hip there and the leg. Boom, like that. And you have the crotch here, comes up like that. The leg kind of comes out and in. You get the idea, right? So you can come and draw over this now. And you can start turning it into an anatomical, correct drawing without even looking at anything. Now that comes in time. But for now, you can actually then just look at the photo without the shapes on it. And now you can start to, draw those anatomical shapes. Or if you are taking my anatomy course, either my old one or my new one, if it's out by the time you're watching this video, because it should be out soon, then you can take a shot at what if I don't look at the photo. I only use the photo to get those basic shapes like we did. It's a good exercise, actually, using the photo to get those basic shapes. And then from that, you test your anatomical knowledge by going in and go, okay, now let's see, can I turn those basic shapes into anatomical correct shapes by just thinking about it, because you've memorized what they look like, where the muscles attach. I think I made that a little bit too big, but there's going to be a little bit of a curve here because of the fat and gravity. I know I made all that a little bit too big anyways. Let's kind of go like this. All that, you wouldn't be able to see all those muscles. I was just showing what would be there, like muscle wise. Usually you don't see that much detail. You might see a little bit of shadow there. Then you would see like that kind of shape here. Like mostly it'd be the shadow that you're seeing like that. And that's, because of those muscles I talked about. You might see a little bit of shadow there. And then sometimes you'll see a little bit of inside here like that. That's like where the armpit is. This is the deltoid back here, so it's going to have more shadow. It's like rolling away from us more. That whole part of the arm there is rolling away from us. But yeah, you get the idea. And then you have this whole section here, right? That's like its whole shape. So I'm going to think about the shadow. And when I think about the shadow, I'm going to think about how it fills in that whole shape there. And that would be, and then it kind of changes because it comes into the leg. Right, and then you can start to add, there's that ligament there, and the tendon and the muscle there. And it kind of comes down a little like that, and then it kind of comes up here, kind of comes down, and kind of flattens out to the knee. The knee kind of flattens out, and then comes in there, a little bit out here, and then in, and then the calf kind of comes out and in like that. This little back muscle right here kind of sticks out a little bit and then comes up. And you have the calf muscle coming down. Right, so you can see. By the way, I'm not looking at the photo right now. You just have to trust me. At this point, I'm just going purely just based on my knowledge of anatomy there to take those basic shapes. So the basic shapes get you a long way. So if you can learn to draw basic shapes, and then you can learn to translate what you're looking at into basic shapes, and then you can draw those basic shapes you translated the drawing into. Then you've done then you can, all you have to do is just add more detail to it to flesh it out. And if it's a human being, and if you then study anatomy, so if you study one of my anatomy courses for figure drawing, then it's like, okay, cool, now I can add that anatomical knowledge on top of it. Or you can also just add the details that are actually in the photo on top of it, right? You can see them. You can go, let's move this aside for a second. You can see that shape right there. You can see that curve. You can see there's two curves there, right? So if you just look at more detail, you can start adding that detail in. But definitely knowing anatomy helps a lot, because it helps you interpret what you can't see in the photo, but you know it's there because you know the anatomy. So it's like, I know anatomically this should be there. You can see I made my whole figure a little bit wider. You can see it because I did the basic shapes right over the photo, and then I, translated those basic shapes into anatomy. You can see that looks more accurate. This is a little bit wide because I was trying to talk and teach and go fast. But so yeah, it's not too much wider, but I can easily adjust that and make it the correct size. I already knew all this was a little too big, and so I could have easily fixed that. In fact, I can just, because it's a sketch, I haven't added really any details yet. I can just go like this and free transform it, and I can just take it like that and then kind of line it up. Come on, it's not letting me let go of it. Why is it doing? Okay, I don't know why it's doing that. There we go, something like that. And then I can erase what I don't want. Right, and then that pretty much fixes it. And yeah, then I can make this boob a little bit smaller because it is a little bit bigger than what I did over here. I tend to always draw boobs bigger than what I see them because I'm used to drawing over-exaggerated stuff like that, like larger breasts and everything. And then I can start seeing, okay, I can see other parts in here where I might have made some of this too big and stuff. I can change that and make this a little bit higher. So there's a couple little things I can see that aren't quite accurate, and I can easily change that and make it accurate. And then over time, what will happen is, I'll end with this since we went so far into this. It's already a long video anyway. Might as well add a little extra. Then you can start thinking about gestures and stuff. Okay, like what's the weight of this figure? Now you're not trying to draw really what you see. You're trying to capture the flow of it. Like, okay, I know like there's this, but I want to capture this. That's like some basic shapes there. But what I want to do is let's see, there's not a whole lot of flow in this one, but I do want to capture some of this. Like there's like this rhythm right here. I like that rhythm. I kind of want to capture that. I want to kind of really push that so we can really exaggerate that. Okay, I kind of like that right there. And then we can go here and we can really pull this out here. I'm just gonna kind of go straight. I was like trying to add detail, and that's not what we want to do with gesture drawing. So boom, like that, and then take that S curve that goes all the way through the figure and kind of come here, and then we'll kind of boom, curve it off like that, and then curve it down. Right, so it's kind of like you're kind of like feeling out the gesture, and I'm not even trying to. I'm making it a lot bigger than what I'm looking at. That's typically what I like to do. I like to see what I'm drawing, but then I'm drawing bigger than what I'm looking at. So I'm just kind of magnifying it a little bit. And I'm just going to come down with basic shapes here because that's what gesture drawing is. You want to capture I want to capture the S curve, and then it's like, okay, cool. And then I can come here and I really want to pull this and kind of come up like that. I want to kind of then start to pull this arm here like that. The neck, I want to see here. I'm just trying to think. Just kind of have that, think about the basic shape that it creates as if it were a t-shirt first, or as if it were a shirt basically. Remember that line isn't going to be there. I just kind of drew it for a second because I wanted to have that flow. And then once you kind of have a feeling of the flow, then you want to kind of come in. I'm making her leg much skinnier. Just seeing how much I can push that. What if I really push that idea right there? And then kind of flow into this, up into the arm. Right? So it's like you're just trying to capture the flow, and then I'm like, okay, what if I make the legs longer as well? What if I kind of like, this is where you can start altering things. You think about the flow that it has, and it's like, you can start adding your own thing. That looks kind of cool. Like what if that leg was kind of more like back here in space like this? And you kind of think about how would that be? And you've already invented a whole new pose that you can base the drawing on. But what if I kind of still want to kind of come down with it? That looks kind of cool too. Just kind of keep that straight. That's the leg that she's pushing up on. And then I can start to keep that basic shapes. And this would be the arm, comes like that. And this arm comes up. And then hand comes over. You see, like, then I'm not trying to draw exactly what I'm looking at. I'm basing a lot of this on my knowledge of the human figure in general. I know the proportions and things like that. I'm like loosely basing on this. And I'm thinking about like the flow and the gesture. And you can see how much more like life this has. It's hard to explain, but there's something, to me at least. Maybe I'm wrong, but well, I'm not wrong for me. Like for my own personal preference, I love drawings that have life to them. Like I don't care if they're accurate or not, like, because I'm never going to see what they were looking at anyways, most likely. That is, when I see the painting or the drawing, that's all I'm seeing. I'm not seeing the photograph they used. For all I know, they didn't use a photograph at all. They just did it from their imagination. And I just want that end result, and I want it to be. So I'm trying to change it. I'm like, okay, what if you kind of see that foot back there, like that, she's putting her weight on. And I really like this kind of like, see this gesture line right there, that curve right there. That curve is what makes this. And I've exaggerated. See how much I've exaggerated? I can exaggerate even more. I can put her head out here more and really pull that in. Like, oh, actually, that probably won't look as good. If anything, I'd want to kind of come this way more with it. Kind of lean her head forward more and have her arms and then come forward maybe. But I actually like this. This is a good pose. It's not trying to draw exactly what I see. Versus like these looks like, yeah, that's cool. This is off a little bit, so it doesn't quite look right. This one's, we know is accurate because it was, the initial shapes were taken right from the photograph itself. But it just doesn't have as much life to it. Like it's more finished and everything, But to me, it doesn't have as much life as that. Like that has so much more life to it because you can like see these are, and the more details I add to this and the more shadowing and stuff, the less like I'll lose this kind of feeling it has. And I love gesture sketches because they have that awesome feeling. So I can come in here though, I can, start adding some details and, anatomy and stuff like that. And I can flesh this out by looking at the photo because I know the anatomy is there. I can also just use my own knowledge of anatomy. But if I use the photo, to get that anatomy down and get everything accurate, I can take this and make it, into a cool, finished kind of sketch or even a finished piece. But because I have this basic kind of gestural sketch that I'm basing it off, I'm going off this gestural sketch first. And I kind of like this better. I kind of like her head if it were kind of looking at us more like this, rather than looking off to the side like it does in the photo like that, just kind of, and maybe her eyes are kind of looking off this way. Like she's looking at something over here. Like I think that's a better, I like that. So, this is stuff you can get from doing like gestural type stuff, but you have to first learn to draw what you see, which is what this whole entire lesson has been about, trying to help you draw what you see so that way you can get to this point where you can just start getting into things like gesture drawings and stuff and then interpreting what you see. Yeah, and that can actually come, I can take that basic sketch and then draw over it. I turn the layer down and I would draw over this now and I would start making little corrections to anatomy and stuff, but I would want to try to keep the liveliness that this has, in the end result. But yeah. Okay, so that's it. I think I've taken enough of your time. I hope that this helps you. If it does, do me a favor, just hit the like button. That's all you have to do in return. As a thank you, I appreciate it. Until next time, keep on drawing.